I still remember the exact words my daughter-in-law said that night. She stood in the kitchen doorway, her arms folded, her voice cold as winter. "Mom," she said, "it's time for you to pack your bags. We can't keep taking care of you anymore." Her words hit harder than a slap. I stared at her, not sure if I heard right. She didn't even look me in the eye, she just kept drying dishes like I was some unwanted guest. For a moment, I thought maybe she was joking. But then my son, David, walked in. He wouldn't even meet my eyes. He just sighed and said quietly, "Mom, maybe it's better if you stay somewhere else for a while. You know, give us some space." Space. That's what they called it, space. The house I helped pay for, the family I raised, the people I cooked for and prayed for, suddenly, I was too much for them. I tried to stay calm, but my heart was pounding. What did I do wrong? I asked softly. My daughter-in-law rolled her eyes. "Nothing, Mom. You just make things hard. We can't live like this anymore. You worry too much. You ask too many questions." And just like that, I was dismissed. Not for something I did, but for simply existing. That night, I sat alone in my small room, the sound of laughter echoing from the living room where they watched TV like nothing had happened. I looked at the family pictures on the dresser, me holding David when he was a baby, his smile so full of love, mine so full of hope. Somewhere along the years, that love had faded. Somewhere along the way, I had become a burden. I sat there quietly, staring at my small suitcase in the corner. If they wanted me gone, I'd go. But I wasn't leaving empty-handed. Because there were things in this house, things I knew, that they had long forgotten. And if life had taught me one thing, it was this: sometimes, the ones who push you away forget who taught them how to stand. But before I tell you what I packed that night, let me introduce myself. Hi everyone, my name is Margaret. If you're here, thank you for listening to my story. This isn't just about being unwanted, it's about finding your strength when no one else sees it. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We share real stories that touch hearts and remind us that no pain is ever wasted. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? Maybe share a small part of your own story. I love reading them. Sometimes your words remind me I'm not alone. Now, let's go back to that night. I waited until everyone was asleep. The house was quiet, except for the ticking clock in the hallway. I sat on the edge of my bed, opened my old suitcase, and started to pack. Not clothes. Not shoes. But memories. I packed the photo of my wedding, the one they never hung on their wall. I packed my husband's old letters, his handwriting still strong, his words still kind. And then, tucked inside my nightstand, I found the small brown envelope he left me years ago, the one I had promised never to open unless I had no choice. My hands shook as I held it. For years, I'd forgotten about it. But that night, something in my heart told me it was time. So I slipped it into my bag, right beside my Bible, and zipped the suitcase shut. When I lay down to sleep, I wasn't afraid anymore. Because deep inside, I knew, what was written in that envelope might change everything. And what happened the next morning would make them realize that the useless old woman they pushed away still held the biggest secret of all. The next morning, the house was silent when I stepped out of my room. The sun was just coming up, spilling soft gold across the kitchen floor. My suitcase sat beside the door, small and old like me. I could hear the faint sound of the coffee machine whirring, my daughter-in-law humming to herself. She looked surprised when she saw me standing there, dressed and ready. "Oh," she said, pausing mid-step. "You're up early." "I didn't sleep much," I said quietly. My voice didn't shake this time. "I thought I'd make it easier for everyone." David came out of the hallway, rubbing his eyes. He looked at my suitcase and frowned. "Mom, you didn't have to rush." I stopped him gently. "No, son. You made yourself clear last night. I understand." I smiled, a small, tired smile. "I've learned that when people show you they don't need you, you don't argue. You just leave with grace." He looked down, guilt flashing across his face, but he said nothing. My daughter-in-law reached for her mug, pretending to sip coffee she hadn't poured yet. I walked to the door, placed my trembling hand on the handle, and whispered, "Take care of each other." Then, with my suitcase in hand, I stepped outside into the cool morning air. The neighborhood was still half asleep. Birds were just beginning to sing, and the distant sound of a lawn-mower buzzed somewhere far away. I stood there for a moment, breathing in the morning breeze, feeling both free and broken. Every step away from that house felt heavier than the last. I walked to the old bench at the end of the street, the one David used to run to when he was little. I sat there, opened my bag, and took out the brown envelope. My hands shook as I broke the seal. Inside, there were a few sheets of paper and a small note in my late husband's handwriting. I hadn't seen that handwriting in over 20 years, but I recognized it instantly. "If you're reading this, Maggie," it began, "it means things didn't go the way we planned. I never told you this because I didn't want to burden you. But the house, the land, everything we built, it's in your name. You're the legal owner. I did it this way to protect you, in case life ever turned unkind." I froze. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it echo inside me. I read it again, slower this time, making sure I wasn't dreaming. My husband had owned the house in my name all along. Not David's. Not anyone else's. Mine. Tears rolled down my cheeks, not out of anger, but relief. I wasn't powerless. I wasn't useless. I was the very foundation of the home they were living in. I looked up at the sky and whispered, "Oh, Henry, you always knew." But I didn't rush back home. No, I sat there quietly, thinking. I wanted to understand what kind of people my son and his wife had become. Maybe they were blinded by stress, by greed, by life. Maybe they forgot who I was. But I wanted to see how they would act, not knowing the truth. So I didn't tell them. Not yet. I went to stay with my old friend, Helen, who lived a few streets over. She welcomed me with open arms, her kitchen smelling of cinnamon and coffee just like it used to. When she asked why I showed up so early, I smiled faintly and said, "Sometimes, the people you love need to learn what losing you feels like." For the next few days, I stayed quiet. I didn't call. I didn't visit. But I heard things. The neighbors talked. They said David and his wife had already started planning to sell the house, talking about how much money they could make. They thought I'd gone for good. Each word stung, but it also strengthened me. Because now I knew the truth, and I knew exactly what I had to do. Before I went to sleep that night, I held the letter close to my heart and whispered, "Tomorrow, they'll find out who really owns everything they've been standing on." But how they found out, that's a story of its own. And what happened next? It didn't just shock them, it silenced the entire family. 3 days passed before I decided to go back. The morning was gray, The kind of day that makes you feel like something important is about to happen. I walked slowly toward the house that once felt like mine. My old shoes pressed against the damp grass, my suitcase rolling behind me. I didn't knock. I wanted to see their faces when they opened the door. When David saw me standing there, his mouth fell open. "Mom," he stammered. "What are you doing here?" Before I could answer, my daughter-in-law appeared behind him, her expression tight. "You came back?" she asked sharply. "We thought you went to stay somewhere else." "I did," I said softly. "But I realized I forgot something important." They exchanged looks, clearly annoyed, probably worried I'd changed my mind about leaving. My heart hurt seeing how quickly love had turned into discomfort in their eyes. Still, I kept my composure. I reached into my handbag and took out the brown envelope. "Before I go anywhere," I said, "I need to show you something." David frowned. "Mom, what is this?" I handed it to him. "It's from your father," I said. "Read it." He opened it slowly, confusion turning into disbelief as his eyes moved across the page. His lips parted, but no words came out. Then he looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in years. "Mom," he whispered, "the house, it's in your name." I nodded. "It always was. Your father wanted to make sure I'd never be left without a place to go. He trusted me to protect what we built, for you, for your children, for our family." My daughter-in-law froze. The color drained from her face. "Wait, you mean," she started, but I interrupted softly. "Yes," I said, calm but firm. "When you asked me to leave, you were standing on my floor, under my roof. Everything you wanted to sell, everything you called yours, it all belongs to me." The room went silent. Even the clock on the wall seemed to stop ticking. I could see the realization sink into them like a cold wave. My son's eyes filled with tears, but my daughter-in-law just looked away, ashamed, too proud to speak. I took a deep breath. "I'm not here to take revenge," I said gently. "I'm here to remind you that respect isn't something you give because of money or power. It's something you give because of love. And once you lose that, no house, no job, no pride can replace it." David stepped closer, tears now streaming down his face. "Mom, I'm sorry," he whispered. "We were wrong. I was wrong." I looked at him, my heart breaking and healing all at once. "I know you are, son," I said. "But some lessons have to be learned the hard way." My daughter-in-law started crying quietly. She reached out to touch my hand, but I stepped back. "Don't apologize to me," I said softly. "Apologize to the woman who helped raise your husband, who cooked your meals, who watched over your children when you were busy. I didn't ask for much. Just kindness. But sometimes, life has a way of giving back what people try to take away." For a moment, no one spoke. The air was thick with regret. Then I turned to the door. "I'll be staying with Helen for now," I said. "You two take care of the house, my house, until I decide what to do next." David nodded, still crying. "Please come back home," he said. "We'll make it right this time." I smiled faintly. "Maybe one day," I said. "But not today." As I walked down the driveway, the wind brushed against my face, carrying the faint scent of blooming roses from the garden I once planted. It was the first time in a long time I felt peace instead of pain. Because I finally realized I didn't lose a home. They did. I still had my dignity, my memories, and the truth on my side. That night, as I sat on Helen's porch, watching the sunset paint the sky gold and crimson, she poured me a cup of tea and said, "So, what are you going to do now, Maggie?" I smiled. "I'm going to live," I said simply. I spent so many years keeping everyone else's world together, I forgot I had one of my own. The camera would slowly fade out here, the sound of soft music playing in the background, my voice calm and steady as the story closes. You see, I tell the viewers, sometimes when people push you out, it's life's way of pushing you toward freedom. Don't be afraid to walk away from places where you're not valued. Because sometimes, walking away isn't losing. It's reclaiming who you are. So if you've ever been told you're not enough, remember this, you don't need their approval to prove your worth. Just your truth, your peace, and your courage to begin again.